It's an idea from Eric Fromm that he got from the Stoics. We were talking about this Stoics earlier. And so remember I was talking about, we're always assuming identities and assigning identities, and I have an agent-arena relationship. That's my existential mode. That's the language we use for talking about that. Okay,
when you say agent-arena, what does that mean?
That means I'm assuming a certain identity, so I can act as an agent. I can pursue goals, solve problems. So right, and the arena is the world makes sense and is shaped. So I don't go in with a tennis racket with my tennis skills into a football stadium.
Right, I see what you're saying. Like when I go into a gas station, I go in there and I'm a patron, so I don't act like a police officer when I'm in
Exactly.
I act like a patron in a gas station because that's what fits the world that I'm in. So that's the agent in the arena.
And we can often forget that. And so one of the personal problems I've wrestled with, and I'm still wrestling with it, is I will tend to carry the professor persona into areas where it doesn't belong.
Oh, I see.
Right? And so we that's what I mean of when we're doing it unconsciously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's your existential mode when you're doing all of that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and so Fromm talked about sort of two modes we have, and the modes are both needed, and they're both organized around different kinds of needs. So one mode he called the having mode. This is the mode in which you need to have something. You need to have water. You need to have oxygen. And it means you need to control it, consume it, and you need to have a categorical relationship with it, like water. It just has to be water. It doesn't have to be like this particular water. It just has to be healthy water, right? And so what I do is I'm manipulating and I'm using my intelligence and I'm manipulating and controlling the world, and I have what Buber would call an I-it relationship. I'm only relating to this as an it, as a member of a category, right? And that's important because, like, if you don't have that mode, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now there's another mode. He called it the being mode. I'm not totally thrilled with that. This is the mode. These are the needs that are met not by having something, but by becoming something. So you need to be mature. You need to be in love. Notice how we say we have sex, but you want to be in love, right? And that's a different mode. So in that mode, I'm not trying to control and manipulate the world. I'm trying to reciprocally open it. So I strive to have that relationship with my friends, and most importantly with my best friend and partner, Sarah. Right? If I treated Sarah like a member of a category, well, Sarah, the reason I'm with you is you remind me of all the other women I've been with. I know how to manipulate and control you and use you to satisfy my needs. That just ended the relationship. What she wants is, no, you're not a problem that I'm going to solve. You're a mystery that I'm going to constantly be faithful to. Right? And that's where I'm using not my intelligence. I'm using, Fromm means reason, but in Plato's sense, not in the modern logical sense. He means that capacity to challenge self-deception and to try and reciprocally open with something. So those are your being needs, right? And those are important too. And you need both, right? Because you want to have water and you want to be mature. You want food and you want to be honest, right? The problem we get, Fromm says, especially if we're not paying attention to our existential mode, is we will pursue the needs in the wrong frame. So for example, a being need, maturity. Instead of I'm going to become mature, I'm going to have a car. Instead of being in love, I'm going to have lots of sex.
I see.
Right? And this is modal confusion. Your existential modes are confused. And when that happens, we confuse. So
we put a quantity on a quality, kind of.
That's yes.
Kind of a blanket statement, but yes.
So let's back to your point. Social media, what you want is you have a being need. You need to be in relationship with people, but now you have connections. You need to be real, but now you have a script. Do you see what keeps happening? What happens, and Fromm's point is our culture, right, is largely, he called it like, Fromm's a Marxist. I'm not a Marxist, but he called it the market character, right? He said what happens is we are increasingly led to trying to pursue not only our having modes, but all of our being needs from within the having mode. Because if I can get you to pursue your being needs within the having mode, I can sell you stuff. I can sell you ideas. I can manipulate you with political ideas. So there's a lot to be gained by bullshitting you, right? Constantly keeping you with salience, but you don't ever pursue the truth of what your needs really are, right? But constantly giving you the salience and drawing you in. Right.
But we benefit that in a way, because if I continue to bite at the fool's gold bait, right, of those types of things, if I continue to, it keeps me away from really having to look at myself.
Yes.
So because it can be very painful to really sit and look at myself and my history and my past if I'm not doing it in a loving way, in an accepting way.
And think about how that's made even worse. That's astute what you just said. So there's an outer dimension of how we're being misled, and then there's the inner dimension of how we're avoidant. And think about how hard it is for you to confront pain if you don't have a sacred canopy, an ecology of practice that can give meaning to the pain. People can undergo tremendous pain if it is made meaningful to them. I'm working with somebody right now. She's done interventions around pain and people think about here. Let me give you a easy. So, what are the things people? I want money, and I want to feel comfortable. I want to feel sort of good. I want good sleep, good health. I want my partner and I to get along really well. You know what will destroy all of those? Have a kid. Yeah. Have a child. Your health goes down, your finances go down, right? You're sick all the time. You're wet for some reason all the time. There's alarms going off. You don't sleep. Each partner's convinced the other one's not doing enough work. And you ask people, why do you do that? Why do you give up on all of those things? And they'll say, because having a kid is so meaningful. Remember, I'm connected to something that has a reality and a value beyond my egocentric concerns. I want it to exist even if I don't, and I want to care for it. I want to make a difference to it. And it's magical. Like if you love a child, right, you turn this being. I mean, they're morally people right from the beginning, but cognitively they're not people, right? And it's like magic. You love them, and they turn into persons, right? And like it's just right. And so when people can go, they will sacrifice a lot if they have a reasonable hope that there'll be meaning in it. But if we're in a meaning crisis and meaning scarcity, they won't make any of those sacrifices. They won't face pain. Don't tell somebody face your pain, feel your emotions, if they can't bring meaning to it, if they can't have practices to confront it and bring wise discernment. So you're right. It makes it even worse. So not only are they being bullshitted from without, they're being starved. Your nourishment metaphor. They're being starved within of the meaning that would allow them to make that confrontation. And you're right, those two things feed on each other, and we get really reciprocally narrow. We get really bound into this profound modal confusion. And like you said, it's fool's gold. It's not actually satisfying it. So we pursue, I need more cars, I need more sex, I need more drugs, whatever it is. And then we get lost in a profound way.
Well, we're at the end of the line with it, it feels like. I mean, we're watching, there's television shows called American Greed. It's like we're sitting here watching we're watching like every hero becomes a villain because they fall to their own devices of addictions or small things, that whatever little things that they let fester while they were trying to achieve grandeur. It's like we're just realizing that there's I think the avenue of this capitalistic, I don't know what it is. I can't figure out what it is that's led us so astray, though, sometimes. But I think we are, as a group, are realizing that we are astray. It feels like.
I think so too. And Fromm predicted that eventually he made the argument that when we're in profound modal confusion, what we would eventually do, and he was part of the person that inspired me when I made that prediction I talked about earlier, is we will seek the last connection we have with reality, which is violent destructiveness. If I can't connect to it, the last connection I can have is at least I will be the one that destroys it.
Wow.
He predicted,
really?
Yes. Think of movie Joker, right? And just how that movie's it's almost like a hymn to that.
Yeah, I mean, look at schools, people walking into schools and shooting people.
That's a symptom of the meaning crisis.
Look at suicide. Look at, we had a coroner on, and he was saying the number one cause of death in black communities is gun violence. The number one cause of death in white communities is overdosing.
Yeah.
It's like people are just finding a mean, it feels like we're in a cul-de-sac.